Bob Sansevier here with stadium expert Brian Murphy and Pioneer Press deputy sports editor John Plume, who thinks he's an expert on everything, including stadiums. Brian, what is it? I mean, we keep hearing Arden Hills is out. Arden Hills doesn't. The Vikings don't want him out. The dome, they need to build on the dome. No, there's a piece of property next to the dome. The Basilica, no, they don't want anything over at the near the church. What's the latest, and what are the chances of it being in Minneapolis? Better chance Minneapolis or somewhere outside of the city?
No, it still sounds like Minneapolis is the viable option, but this is what happens when you don't have political will, when you don't have organization, when you don't have your ducks lined up, because obviously these sites weren't all vetted. Minneapolis came to the game late. Arden Hills was vetted, but the financial numbers were too blurry, or at least they weren't politically feasible to get these taxes through. This is a situation where everybody's throwing up everything they can on the wall. Some things are falling off. Some people are. There seems to be this gravitational pull toward Minneapolis because that's where the money is, that's where the power is. It seems to be a viable option because it is the least expensive. You already have some infrastructure at the Dome, but the Vikings obviously haven't committed or said what they're going to commit. It was $425 million to Arden Hills. It's going to be considerably less if they're going to be displaced for a couple of years. And oh, by the way, the NFL needs to sign off on that. Oh, by the way, it's going to be, the U wants them there. They obviously know it's going to be a windfall, but it's not as simple as just plugging in and playing somewhere else.
Here's what's a little bit confusing to me and maybe some others. The reason you would think an owner wants to get to a place like Arden Hills, he has it all. He's got all the parking. He has everything you could take in.
Particularly a real estate development guy. Like
yes, but where does he, if it's in Minneapolis, he makes nothing off of parking. Or very little.
Very little. I
mean, where is the big bump? A few more suites? Where does he make more money by leaving the Dome and not having parking? I mean, could be worth in the millions. Certainly, long range, it's in the for over a 30-year period, it's easily worth in the tens of millions.
The Twins aren't getting that either. They're not getting the parking, but yet they're drawing
premium seat licenses. It's yes. Suites. It's you control all the signage. I mean, you're not dealing with a third party as much. There will be a stadium commission.
That's what I mean.
Managing the building.
But how do they separate what the stadium commission to get a lot more from the commission that they're going to? Because you keep it in Minneapolis, it doesn't seem things are going to change that much with a commission. That same stadium commission could be enforced. The Vikings can't dictate what kind of a commission they have and what they do. I mean, they're going to try to take as much money out of that as they can as a state body.
Well, but look what they're going to be investing. I'm talking about the team. I mean, this is going to be their building.
No, I understand that, but I just, frankly, if I were them, I'd be looking more. Or if Arden Hills doesn't work, I'd be taking a harder look at Shakopee as an alternative.
Well, again, what are the issues going to be out there? They may put a shovel in the ground and find a burial site. They may find a leaking gas. I mean, the problem is that you got all of these sites that are just being thrown out there, sort of as, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? What's there? Who are the neighbors? Are there going to be lawsuits involved? Is there going to be eminent domain issues? I mean, is there going to be cleanup costs? And how does that change the arithmetic?
Well, the most distressing thing, John and Brian, is that they're just throwing things up. This thing with the land next to the Dome just came up. They have no plan. I mean, the city has no plan because the city has no consensus. Minneapolis, clearly the state... the politicians want to keep it in Minneapolis, and I don't understand if it's lobbyists or why that's so important that it stay in Minneapolis.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to what Brian said earlier, the political leadership here. They're coming to the party a little bit late. Minneapolis got in the game way too late. R.T. Rybach wants to funnel money now from the convention into a stadium fund. Is it going to be enough to pay for it? Nobody really knows. You're talking about taking an NFL team and putting them in a college stadium that only has 40 seats, seats 51,000 people, has no premium parking. The NFL likely will not sign off on it. So there's so many issues out there, and it all should have been solved before they even got to this point. If they knew the Dome was going to be the site, then why didn't Rybach and all these other people get together with the Wilfs and say, it's got to be here, this is what's got to be done, and they didn't do it. It's classic Minnesota politics all over again.
Now, Brian, there had been a conversation years ago, before the TCF Stadium was built, of the Vikings and the Gophers getting together. Is there a possibility, because they did allow to add, up to 30,000 seats to get it to an 80,000 seat stadium, that they can do that, play in the Dome, and then get it NFL ready and for the Gophers to use, and turn it into the stadium both can use? Or is that Is that not? That's not even on anyone's radar.
It shouldn't be on anybody's radar. I mean, TCF Bank was designed. Yes, there was that early talk about the two of them sharing the facility, but that's not what it became. It's now a college facility. It was designed specifically to be more cozy, to be quaint. You've got the open-ended.
But it was designed to add 30,000 seats too.
But if it does, then what are you saying? So that the Vikings can come in for 2 years and play, and then
No, what I'm saying is that they come in and make that their home. Is that a possibility? Make that turn it into an NFL viable stadium in addition to the college stadium.
Well, I don't think the U of M wants that. I think
Well, they probably don't, but they also have to answer to the state.
I think the Vikings want their own stadium.
Sure, they do. Everything.
They want
they
want a Hall of Fame. They want to be able to relocate their practice facility. They want it all on one campus.
Well, that's not going to happen in Minneapolis.
And when you sit back and you think about it, the political leadership here should recognize, okay, we know St. Paul is the small stepchild. We want to take it away from them, but if you're logical and you're smart, it belongs in Arden Hills. You've got 400 acres to develop. Why not figure out a way to get it done? Why can't electronic pull tabs work in Arden Hills? Are they only workable in Minneapolis? I don't get it. It's just like they're trying to corner everything to Minneapolis. First it's the Basilica, then it's the Farmers Market, then it's this. Well, let's go 3 blocks down from the Metrodome. We'll do it there. I mean,
the biggest roadblock is taxes. I mean, they're not going to raise taxes. You're not going to be able to get through that charter amendment in Ramsey County, and it looks like Ryback's not going to be able to get the support in the votes in Minneapolis.
There are options, and they don't want to
electronic poll tax.
They don't want to explore these options. That's the most frustrating thing, I think.
Why not explore Racino?
Explore all of it.
Because you're going to run headlong into the tribes, and they have a very powerful lobby. And then, what Ryback's trying to do, which is shrewd, but it's not going to work out for him. To use an old Clinton term, he's triangulating. He's trying to get property tax relief for his constituents off of the Target Center by having this also pay for a renovation there. So he's going to upgrade his downtown arena, he's going to get his Vikings stadium, and he's going to get some tax relief. But he's not going to be able to, it looks like, get the votes from his city council to overcome the $10 million cap on facilities.
R.T. Raybach is not Bill Clinton. He's not the master of negotiating with 2 or 3 different parties to bring everybody together
a city council that
to get it done.
Have a consensus on this.
But he can't get it done. Anybody who goes to Minneapolis and goes downtown and sees what's happening to that city, it's all a reflection of the leadership.
And my solution to the Racino issue, and I understand that there are the tribes that have casinos now, there's an objection. However, what I have suggested, I've written it and I've talked about it, you give a third to the stadiums, you give a third to paying off the state debt, and you give a third to the people, the Native Americans in this state who get nothing from any of the casinos. Now, how is anyone going to complain about that if you're giving money to people who get nothing right now? They're being cut out of the mix. I mean, they should be. It's kind of hard to say, no, we're not going to share with,
that's what
with other Native Americans.
That's what we do here. We say no to everything.
Well, I mean, there are ways. There's ways that they sat down, they could come up with probably better plans than we have, but nobody wants to do it. Now, on another note, if they ever get a stadium, they may get a Super Bowl. Meantime, who do you like?
I like the Giants. I didn't maybe 2 weeks ago, but boy, it's hard to look at that team and not see a cohesive, driven team. This is not a 9-7 team that made backed into the playoffs. This is a high-rolling offense that, Eli Manning has really emerged as, if he was an elite quarterback, but he's definitely carved his niche. And as much as I like New England, and I know Bill Belichick is going to come up with a game plan for the ages, but he's got a wounded Gronkowski.
That's the biggest.
He's got a very leaky defense, and I just think the Giants are poised right now. They're the more cohesive team with all the momentum, and about the only thing New England's got going for it right now is probably some revenge. But I don't know if that's.
I don't think that motivates it. A healthy Rob Gronkowski, I would be siding with the Patriots, but without, he is such a big part of that offense, and he can help negate that pass rush with quick dump offs. Now it's just Aaron Hernandez is the guy you're dumping off to, and I don't think it's going to be enough. John, you're being oddly silent.
I like the Patriots. I love Bill Belichick. I think he's probably the best coach in the time that I've watched football. I just think if you give a guy 2 weeks to figure out how to beat somebody who's playing really, really well, and they're probably the hottest team in the playoffs, the hottest team the second half of the season, I just think he's going to come up with a plan. I think he'll surprise a lot. Even without Gronkowski, he's going to figure out a way to make that offense work. And at the end of the day, I think Tom Brady's he'll find a way to make a play.
So you like Belichick better? You were around for Bill Walsh, right? You were around for Chuck Noll. You were around for.
I think Belichick's a better coach, and I don't
you were around
really
for Joe
care
Gibbs
about
all the different quarterbacks.
I don't really care about the Spygate stuff. I think it's baloney. The guy knows how to win. He's won 5 Super Bowls. He's going to win a 6th. He's going to win a 7th, and he'll probably win an 8th.
You were around for Tom Coughlin, who beat him.
Well, I think what validates Belichick more than anything is he's won with probably 4 different teams.
Yes.
Different era, the free agency era. Chuck Noll basically had the same team from 1970 to 1980 and won 4 Super Bowls. Not to try to, dump on what the Steel Curtain accomplished, but this is a guy that different eras, different types of teams.
He had Tom Brady in all of them.
He had Tom Brady in all of them, but he also had Randy Moss for 1 Super Bowl year that they didn't win, but he's also had a downfield passing game. He's had solid defenses. This time he's got, the new tight end phenomenon that he's basically rewritten how to play offense in that regard. He finds a way to get things done.
The amazing thing about this team is they have 25 undrafted free agents on their 53. I mean, that's amazing. He finds his kind of players. He carves out a role for those players, and they give it everything they have, and they figure out how to win. Aaron Hernandez, expect to see him in the backfield on Sunday. Expect to see him playing wide receiver in the slot all over the place. Gronkowski's not there. Hernandez will pick it up. He'll figure out a way to get it done.
It'll be an interesting thing to find out. If they win, your Patriots, would they be the only Super Bowl winner that only beat 2 teams during the regular season and postseason with winning records? Because right now there's only 1 team they've beaten with a winning record, and it was Baltimore.
That's not their fault, though. They always get a tough
I
schedule.
didn't say it was. But they did lose the winning teams, too, though. I'm not saying – I like the team, and I think they would win with Gronkowski, but without him, I do agree with you about the momentum of the Giants.
It's not their fault the Jets underachieved. It's not their fault the Chargers underachieved. It's not their fault the Colts fell apart. I mean, they get the tough schedule every year.
Defensively, they've improved the second half of the season. And again, when you have to play the Jets twice, and up until this year when you're playing the Colts twice, and you have to go to Buffalo, I mean, say what you want about those teams, but year in and year out, they're usually right there in the playoff race. They're always playing Baltimore. I mean, they play the upper echelon most of the time with the schedule. I don't really care about losing records, winning records. They went 14-2. They won 14 games. Last year they won 14 games. The year before that, I think they won 13. The year before that, they won 16 games.
They won 11 one year and didn't make it. With Matt Castle, who nobody heard of.
What's your point?
So the point is, it doesn't matter who the guy has, he wins.
But the Giants are still going to beat him.
I guess.
We'll see.
Next time we reconvene
And
for
if
the
they
podcast,
do,
we'll
Tom
know.
Coughlin should retire.
And you should take over as coach.
I'd
All
love
right.
to.
We'll let somebody else take over the podcast now. See you later.